Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, as France, wherever you might be watching us. Of course, you're getting on well. Yeah, this is a brief broadcast where to discuss some latest developments and breaking news. Well, it is no longer breaking news because it's before the public domain that the crypto influencer B Lord has been arrested and charged or accused of fraud and, of course, money laundering and what have you. And we are to also look at the position of the High Court that dismisses a case or a suit defying the Arabic inscription in Nigerians' notes, Naira notes. Of course, what I commend the courage of whosoever may have done this to appeal that the Arabic inscription, which is not a local language in Nigeria, should be scrapped off from the Nigerian currency. But the High Court of Nigeria dismisses such a case, citing that it lacks the local standard uh, to get through. Well, some say that, well, the person did not know that this is an Arabic country and you don't expect otherwise to happen because definitely it will not get through. Another development of which is a very good one is that from Msuka you can grow vegetables, you can grow tomatoes, you can grow, of course, in Igbo lands, it has been tested and proven that, of course, I remember those days when we, behind the gardens or the backyard, you have your pepper garden, tomato garden, and the vegetable garden. So it has been affirmed that commercial farming of those produce would boost, of course, the productivity in the east rather than depending solely on the northern supply. Most importantly, now that the northern region has already been destabilized security wise, the farmers can't go to farms that either killed or, of course, they pay heavily before they could be allowed to access their farms. And the cost of moving them down to the west or the south is another uh, very serious challenge, owing to the fact that the cost of running the diesel or fuel has increased. So all this and more affected the cost of the commodities, especially those perishable commodities coming from the north. So it is a good idea if the southeast or the eastern region can buy that idea to grow such edible crops, especially tomato, carrots, legumes, cucumbers down in the east. That will boost the productivity. But the most challenge is the activities of the herders and their cattle. You see, you can't make such preparations, invest your money in mechanization, farm mechanizations, applying of pesticides and other essential ventures in the course of that, only to end up losing the entire process to cows or cattle, overrunning the entire farmland and, of course, destroy it. These are fundamental issues. Now, coming down to that, our main subject of discourse is focused on why Igbos are not allowed to quit Nigeria, why Igbos and Biafrans are not allowed to quit the Nigerian states. This has given me so much concern, of course, and based on the opinion I sampled from people, they've been able to make their own opinion or position regarding this. So I want us to look into this deeply and keenly. Why is it that the movement for the actualization of the independent states or the restoration of the independent state of Biafra is vehemently opposed by Nigerian government? And of course, those people from the south, from the north, and also majority from the southwest. Of most recent, we have seen several calls uh, counteracting the position of the indigenous people of Biafra and the Biafra Republic government in their side, ably led by the Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic government in his Mazi Simon Ekpa, whose renewed quest for the restoration of the Biafran state has taken unusual dimension, just as he said that he would want his name, he would want his name and person to become a phenomenon that could be underscored uh, by generations to come. And reference could be made how he was able to deploy his own strategies in the quest for the restoration declaration of the sovereignty of the Biafran state. He is not Mandela, according to the Prime Minister Simon Ekpa. He said he's not Gandhi. He should not be compared with any other freedom fighter who has done that in the past, arguing that his strategy or the strategy of those freedom fighters of the past cannot fit in the state of events because it is peculiar. The problem is local. The problem is peculiar. It's very unique and needed the unique approach to solving the same problem and to achieve, of course, the desired goal. He said he is not Nelson Mandela. He can never be Gandhi and the rest of them who, of course, excuse me, fought for the freedom of their people in their own generation and time. So the approach deployed by the Prime Minister of the Biafran Republic government in exile seems to have taken so many people aback. Some are very disturbed because they thought initially that Simon Ekpa may not muster much courage to push the Biafran struggle after the extraordinary rendition of his leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. But to their utter dismay and chagrin, they discovered that Mazi Simon Ekpa is more deadly and more brutal and ruthless in his approach than Mazi Nnamdi Kanu could have ever been imagined. So what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is doing was just a child's play compared to what Simon Ekpa is doing, because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu believes in diplomacy. He believes in diplomatic engagement. He believes that with the instrumentality of truth and, of course, legality or the rule of law, he will bring Nigeria to her needs, just as he have maintained, of course, that he is going to destroy or conquer Nigeria with the instrumentality of truth. He didn't say with guns and bullets or barrels of gun and grenades. He said, with the instrumentality of truth, I'm going to destroy Nigeria. I'm going to win them in their own court, and of course, eventually have the Biafran freedom. Now, why Igbos are not allowed, but there is this reluctance, there is this gang up against the exodus of Biafra from Nigeria. Why is it so? Is it justifiable, or could it be considered on the basis of selfishness and insensitivity on the part of those who felt threatened, perhaps, who felt inferior, if I will use the word, that they can't exist on their own except they remain the same, trapped in the same, stuck in the same wheel of motionless and despair. Just as what is happening today, that's across the regions of this country, people are not happy. People are not happy with what is happening with the system of governance, with the economic mishaps, with the pains and agonies people are being subjected on daily basis. They are not happy. Yes, police arrested the crypto influencer B Lord on the basis of alleged fraud, alleged terrorism act or whatever. Now you begin to ask, there are more deadly criminals within the political sphere that are walking on the streets of Nigeria free. People who have not just looted the common treasury, but have devoured generations, devoured posterities, devoured the very essence of human existence, devoured the future of the born generations and posterity, and the current feeding on the current destinies of those who unfortunately have no cause, have not found any direction. It is quite unfortunate that this is happening. We begin to ask, what is this? What exactly is happening? So the focus here is, please kindly hit the like buttons, share this video as you join us, hit the like buttons, share the videos. You can as well participate in this discussion via the comment section. Now, recall prior to independence that different regions has their way of life, has their shared common values and ideology, and of what they believe more, of course, is the way of life and the way that they find their existence. But unfortunately, after being independence, being integrated, everything changed and eventually has brought us to this point we are. Needless to go back to the regional government, but consistently we have seen that by design, Nigeria or the founding fathers of this country do not sit down to articulate how the country should be governed, what are the terms of agreements, what are differences, and how should these differences be integrated, accommodated within the defined principles of equity, fairness, and justice. So, because they failed to lay a very consolidated foundation predicated on these tripods stands justice, equity, and fairness, Nigeria has never enjoyed unity. So Nigerian state have spent almost her entire life existence struggling to unite different ethnic nationalities, different regions of this country, but to no avail. Unfortunately, less than 6 years after independence, or less than 3 years after being declared as a federation, Nigeria plunged into the most brutal war. Because of the insurgencies, because of the inconsistency, because of lack of patriotism, because of selfish quests driven by ethnic bigotry and the whipping of religious sentiments that have not left Nigerian political sphere. They are still revolving within the Nigerian scope, and it defines whatever happens within the Nigerian state. Humanity is not preferred above religion, above ethnic sentiments, and all that. That's why, up to now, the very fundamental or foundational issue that have remained a cog in the wheel of progress of this country borders on insincerity, lack of commitment, deceptiveness, and of course, whipping up sentiments and religious bigotry. When you study the antecedents of those who call themselves the father of Nigeria, the Ahmadu Bellos, the Zik, the Awolowos, the Tafawas, you get to understand there is something lacking. There is that sense or that consciousness of deception hiding under certain covers. Every person is seeking for his personal interest and to protect the interests of his region or perhaps his ethnic nationalities and where he comes from. And unfortunately, that could not be managed. Unfortunately, even within certain regions, just as these western regions, you saw that played out very clearly, that culminated into what we call the Operation Wetier, where the Akintolas and his group, Awolowo and his group, were fighting for dominance and supremacy within the western region. Unfortunately, that escalated to breakdown of law and order. Both parties begin to kill one another. The hostility was second to none, burning the houses of their opponents, and the, the rest is history. And this, of course, led to the, the first military coup before you had the counter coup and another coup, which means there is three coup in the process. Apart from the first coup, the rest of the second coup were driven by selfish quest and interest. Unfortunately, after the coups and counter coups, Nigeria have not found its feet on the path of progress. Unfortunately, that culminated to the civil war. What they call a civil war, but is a brutal war of hostility, driven by deep hatred and uh, deep-seated hatred against the Igbos, or perhaps they are being misunderstood because of their advantage position during those times. Their ingenuity defines them and single them out for, of course, better opportunities. And other regions think this could jeopardize their interests or make them feel somehow sidelined. But it was defined by ingenuity and merit. But after when they saw that most of the positions are being occupied by Igbos based on merit, they begin to contemplate, no, how can we continue with this? And eventually that leads to the war. After the war, they said, no, these people who we fought against will be sidelined eventually from the scheme of events. And will design a template that will not give them that advantage over others. That's why you hear the catchment areas in terms of education. You hear the quota system that regardless of however qualified you are, whether you have the merits or whether you are ingenious, you will be limited to certain opportunities and, of course, positions. So this will be evenly distributed. Let every region be represented, which, well, if that have moved the Nigerian forward, I wouldn't have any reason to, of course, reject that. But after the catchment areas where you see somebody from the north who scores 27 in the same uh, JAMB exam or test will have admission in UNN, while somebody who studied, who has from the east that have 200 will not even have admission in the same place or have admission in Ahmadu Bello Zaria. within the same country. But disadvantaged people are the same Nigerian, supposed Nigerian citizens are disadvantaged, deliberately conditioned and limited to certain opportunities. Of course, they could not aspire to express themselves or be given a very level playing ground for everyone to aspire to be whatever he wants to be. That is when Nigeria begins to sink abysmally. That gives room to, of course, mediocrity, ethnic bigotry, sentiments continue to build up, and the rest is history today that have brought us to where we are today. So why Igbos and Biafrans are not allowed to live? Of course, their importance cannot be overemphasized. Their contributions to the nation growth and development would not, of course, be quantified because they have contributed immensely to the growth and development of every region they found themselves. The reality is staring at us. They are most wide wherever they found themselves, they integrate with the society and, of course, chart a way to move that community or society forward. They are more keenly interested in their self development and the development of those regions or host communities. But okay, the internet facility is something very, uh, it's quite discouraging, fluctuating. You can see how long it took before it can come. Testing. We're just testing to see if we are back online. If you can hear us, just kindly let us know. Just kindly let us know if you can hear us. The internet network glitches is something else this evening. Just back. We are back on air. As you join us, as you rejoin us, kindly hit the like buttons, please. As the fans, kindly hit the like buttons. So why the Igbos could not be allowed to leave Nigeria? Now, if there is exodus of Igbo people, will that engender prosperity for all? Yes. Will that create ingenuity and more engagements, more healthy competitions across board? That is fundamentally correct. Yes, this was said. Yeah, bad leadership, of course, as what we have been discussing here. You can see that the foundation for bad leadership was led and consolidated. So that is why Nigeria is what it is today. And you can take my words for real. With the template designs or the template under which this country is being run today, there is no hope. There seems to be no hope. I mean, there is no hope of a better Nigeria because those who have occupied and have perpetrated themselves within the corridor of power will never let go. When they are retired, They will groom their cronies, their sons and daughters, to also step into the same shoe and continue where they stopped. The language has been, I will step into the shoe of this person. Not that I will deliver. I have the capacity, I have the credential, I have the quality to serve my people. What you will only hear, it is my turn, because it is a sharing formula. Everybody gets in and loot as much as you can and get away. Look at the atrocity that was committed during even Jonathan time. There was recklessness, reckless spendings. Even the gate men, the gate man and the housekeepers parted away with millions of dollars. That was enough money to steal. And nobody cares about the dying population of the Nigerian state. Why? Because the system was designed to fail. Just but Banana Island, everybody comes and cut away with whatever they feel like. Just like the wife to the late Abacha said, even though they seize all their properties within Nigeria, they can never be as poor as Dangote. You know what that means? That even when they strip them of all their belongings within the Nigerian state or else, they have amassed enormous wealth to keep them afloat and the unborn generation to the in the next century. They can't be as poor as Dangote. You know what that means? But that is not where we are, where our interest lies. You can see very clearly that the system was designed to keep people in the wheel of motionless, to suppress people from expressing themselves, expressing their ingenuity, and of course, fulfilling their aspirations. Their drives seems to have been caged by certain laws and operational or functional within the system. It was deliberately orchestrated so that certain regions of the country will not, even though it is in their nature to aspire to become better. They say, even though it is inherent within you to move ahead, we are going to enact certain rules and policies and principles to cow you down, to keep you in a state of motionless and despair. With other regions, by frustrating whatever efforts you might be making towards economic independence and economic progress, and what have you. But has that helped any part of the region? No. The same people who are envious of the Igbos or the Biafrans are still stuck in the wheel of motionless and despair. They stop others from moving forward. What I mean, moving forward collectively, not individual perspective. Because we have people in the north, in the west, in the east who are doing exceptionally well for themselves. That is not my argument. The holistic approach to this issue. When you're a big man in your own house, a billionaire, and people around you within your own locality are stuck in poverty. So, of what essence is that? What have you done, of course, to help those who want to come up and become responsible for themselves in life? You may say, of course, who helped you? Well, that is not where we are going. We understand But nobody is an island. Nobody survive on his or her own accords. Have been in isolation. There could be minimal chances of surviving without in isolation, but that is not where I'm going. Just for instance, in a population of over supposed or estimated to be 200 million lost, you see that over 90% of the population is poor, sticking in poverty. You know what that means? It is an evidence of a failed policy implementation, monetary or fiscal policies, and the rest of them are misgovernance, unaccountability on the part of the those that governs and the governed, because the system has made it almost impossible for the governed to hold the governors accountable or responsible. So in such system, the poverty gap will continue to widen because what people resort to is there's still the common wealth of the masses cut away with billions of dollars, stock them up in Europe, in Asia, in America, in Swiss, in other parts of the world. Something that could have been used to develop the entire region for the common good of all. Unfortunately, those who could not build hospitals in their country, on their state, at the slightest headache or fever, they will jet out of the country because that gives them ample opportunity to steal more, hiding under the disguise of medical trips, moving billions of dollars away from the country. Unfortunately, even the pension funds are being looted, and there is no system to check when there's excesses. So, with all these things now, I heard about the civil servants, senior civil servants, waiting for their gratuities and pension. In a country where the president bought yachts about 5 billion or more, is renovating his own apartments, presidential apartments, with 50 billion. Why most of these senior civil servants could not build a simple bungalow or two-bedroom flat for themselves throughout their active service. They could not save to build a house for themselves. And the vice president will spend 21 billion in renovating his own apartment. But the retirees who have served meritoriously are wallowing in abject poverty. Unfortunately, how much are they being paid? Let alone to hold them arrears spanning years, unpaid arrears. Does that foster any future? Even those, of course, who might be planning or whose retirement age is coming closer will now be devising means to steal. You understand that even the civil servants are the most corrupt within the society. because they understood that even the future is not secured. So they would do every other thing to make sure, of course, they steal either with pain or conspiring with the political class to embezzle the public funds so that they can secure their uncertain future. It is quite uncertain because when you are driven by that fear of the known, of what becomes of you, and that move you to become so destructive against humanity and the society where you belong to. The budget pardon will never go in the history of Nigeria. It has become a yearly ritual, of course, where people cash out. And that, provided there is chop by chop, of course, anything could be covered up. Projects that were awarded, but we are not executed. Awarded in papers, but they are nowhere to be found in real time. Contracts that would have, of course, has an overbearing effect on the masses ended up being looted up, shared among themselves. So you can see the reason why during elections the politicians will fight deadly, would even kill to make sure they get there because they knew when they get there, that's too much money to embezzle. And without being queried or questioned, without anybody daring to ask them, what are you doing? Unfortunately, they are being celebrated as this guy is good at that. You leave all those criminals and you go after somebody who defined his own nick and pursued his own destiny, saying is indulged in fraud. Why the main fraud is living in Asorok? The main fraud is living in different state secretariats, government offices across the globe, across Nigeria. Somebody will steal close to 90 billion, and the person is even making a case, hiring lawyers to defend himself. Yes, now, because there's too much money to chew and to throw around. If it means litigating, as long as only God knows, they are equal to the task. The hard-earned money, the people's money, have been diverted. Not with this level of mentality and environment that allows and condones these excesses. Such governments cannot, such people can move forward. So it is not a surprise that Nigeria is where it is today. So those who are surprised should wait for more shocks. In terms of budget implementation, Nigeria will borrow more than 70% or more of what they will use to fund the budget. You know what that means? It's a state of insolvency. No wonder Nigeria, the economy is moribund. Inflation is biting hard. People are pulling away. Multinationals are fleeing the shores of Nigeria, considering that business is no longer viable within the states. And unfortunately, those who should know better are not asking why are they leaving. Unfortunately, they keep on touring the world round under the disguise of they are worrying investors. Why the one you have are fleeing? So You don't blame a people when they say we can't continue in this mess, we can't continue in this state of despondency, we can't continue in this state of quagmire, trapped in the wheel of motionless and despair. We must chart our way forward. We are more than this. We can be more than this. We can be better than this. We can redefine, of course, our existence by pulling away those who have uh, enjoyed the flout system, who are beneficiaries of this flout system, will not want this membership of the body because they are having their own cuts of the national cake, and as such, everything should continue. It doesn't matter who dies, who starves to death, they are well taken care of. And this informed the reason why there is agitations, renewed agitations across board. This is the reason why national protest is being organized. But unfortunately, you begin to ask those, most of them who are sponsoring this protests have skeletons in their cupboards. They are not innocent. By innocent, I mean not by name, but by conviction. They are not innocent. They are found wanting. At one point or the other has supported the cruelty, the injustice, the unfairness, defending the indefensible, of course, for the very reason, of course, that it protects their own personal interests or whatever they stand to get. So, but whenever the interest is no longer protected, they begin to call for protests, hiding under the disguise. So protests can't solve the problem of Nigeria because it's fundamental. Whether you conduct 100 protests, it cannot solve the problem of Nigeria until this foundation is revisited. And that is what informed the position of the indigenous people of Biafra when they are demanding that the foundation should be revisited. It is foundational. The problem is foundational, and you can't be beating about the bush, thinking you can deceive the gullible ones. Not until you revisit that foundation, you will continue to wallow in self deception. So, those opposing the move for the quest for the independent state of Biafra are not interested to address the fundamental issues that have become a cog in the wheel of Nigerian progress. Why? Because the interest seems to be protected. They're taking undue advantage of everyone else, and they feel comfortable with that. But such cannot continue indefinitely because human instinct has a way of annulling the effect of whatever, of course, unfavorable position at every given time. Yes, especially when it's been overstretched beyond its limits. Of course, the yielding point or the breaking point will set in, and that is what it will lose its elasticity, and whatever that case is. So we must define a constant that will keep the existence of Nigeria or humanity at the at equilibrium, where every party will not feel cheated, where everybody must be carried along, where equity defines every action, where there is that sincerity, regardless of your race, your religion, or ethnic nationality, you will have a common unified entity. But that unfortunately can't be when impunity, when division is sponsored, when hatred is sponsored by those within the corridor of power, those who would have sought a way to mend the errors of the past, to reintegrate the masses, are living the life of deception, the life of uh, divisiveness, and what have you. They are the ones sowing the seed, fanning the embers of war, the embers of hatred, the embers of disunity, the embers of injustice and inequality, just as we saw in the last election. Snatch it, seize it, and run with it. You're ready to snatch it. If it doesn't get to you, you have no other option but to deprive whosoever that have it. Snatch it, take it, and run with it. Mentality can move us further than where we are, trapped in the state of despair, motionless, no progress recorded, no meaningful progress intended, whether in the long, short term, middle term, or long term periods. You cannot appreciate the state where we are. And some are being sponsored to create false narratives. That's Igbos are responsible for what they responsible for what? Today, most communities in the West have fled their communities, mostly in this renewed hostility between the headers and the host communities. Of most recent, three Obas were killed within an interval of 2 weeks, and it appears that nothing happens. People have been sacked, farmlands have been destroyed, forceful disappearances here and there, adoptions, and whatever be the case. Criminality and crime on the increase. Unfortunately, the victims of this are the defenseless masses, the youth who should have been the source of strength in their productive age were abandoned at their fates. Everybody to himself, God for us all. If you don't let the devil text you. So unfortunately, even the youths of these days has no patience, perhaps because of the background or the society they found themselves that is driven by material, material quest or pursuit, materialism. They saw how they spend money, they throw money here and there. Once if you are even an ordinary counselor without passing six, give him 2 years. It will buy a car, or if not cars, build houses, buy plot of land. Ordinary counselor. So that encourage criminality, encourage breakdown of law and order. You see, some youths are now resorting to all manner of crime as a way of survival because that is what the society need. That is the trending. They have to keep pace with what is happening. You see, somebody who never worked for any money, who doesn't even deserve, but because by virtue of the position he or she occupies, See them building houses here and there, buying fleet of cars, building estates. From where the common treasury of the masses are being looted and relooted, while the entire masses are in penury, impoverished, stuck in the wheel of motionless. Most children, families can't continue with their children's education. And you do you find that so funny? Maybe it sounds like that. That even the future of these children has already been hijacked. The families dropping their children from schools. And of course, some private schools are shutting down. Yes, they're shutting down. The one my wife was teaching previously, they shut down because of indebtedness on the part of the parents. But the cost of running the school is no longer something that the perpetrators or whatever the owner of the school could continue. So that is as a result of the economic mishaps. Economic mishaps. And you call this a nation? You've never sat down to ask, where are we headed? Drifting to the cliffs. Where is this accident buying time to happen? Nobody cares, not even executive, not even the legislators. Nobody cares. So, can you justify the continued existence of Nigeria? Under what circumstances can you argue in support for the continued existence of Nigeria that have rejected her children, that children are hungry, could no longer feed, the families can't feed the Nigerian children, they can't afford their education again. You must say their parents are lazy. Okay, you're the only one that is industrious. Okay, unfortunately, most families, most parents have been retrenched. Okay, you have to blame them that they should, of course, look for alternative means of survival. What you are right, of course, they should alternative means of survival. Yes, of course they should. But for those who don't have patience, where will you start from? The take home is not even enough to take them a distance, half the road, let alone taking them home. It's quite pitiable and very unfortunate when you now see all these things and people who have seen afar say, no, with this template and the system, it encourages mediocrity, encourages corruptions, embezzlement, and imbalance in the system. And those who should know better are not showing any interest in redefining the very essence of, its, of existence of the ethnic nationalities within the same confinement or contraption called Nigeria. So when people now realize, no, we have to take our fate and of course and decide our fate, our destiny in their hands. You start fighting them. You start fighting them. We created this whole problem. Everybody else, Igbos, Hausas, Yorubas, they all of them, Fulani created the same problem. So they will all solve it the same. That is an act of stupidity. What if those who created the problem don't want the problem to be solved? Because the more the problem lingers, the more they gain or do advantage against others. So such people can't want the problem to go out because they are part and parcel of the problem. They created the problem, they initiated the problem, and they, of course, designed the problem to persist and take so that they can continue to rip off and take undue advantage of other regions. But when the regions who have seen ahead and said, no, we can't continue with this, we've understood that you have no any intention, you have no any political will or commitment to resolve the myriad of problems bedeviling the Nigerian state. You have no any intention or political will or the willingness to summon the courage to involve other stakeholders. But let's come, of course, and resolve this amicably. That seems not to be the case. So you want people to be tapped under coercion, you use of force, you want to force them to accept whatever you impose on them, regardless of how they feel or how injurious that could be to their existence. You want them to accept that because you are who? You are Lord of laws. You want to lord it over to them so they can remain subjected and subjugated while you cruise your life, while you live, of course, as ostentatiously at the at disadvantage of the majority of the people. You must be kidding. People will definitely rise. If not now, definitely someday, but certainly the way. And when they rise, of course, hell will be let loose. You can't stop them because these are resentments that are built over the years. So that is just the case. Okay, if you go now, we'll be losing most of our advantage we get from you. Maybe you are the one, of course, supporting the economy. Or if you go now, who will be supporting the economy? Okay, they are meant to be slaves. And you don't want them to move ahead. You don't want to give them a sense of belonging, and you don't want them to leave. That could be likened to Pharaoh now. Let my people go. He said no. Give them peace. He said no. They'll continue to mold bricks the hard way. Okay. Well, it is not about Chigos and Igbo, but then the people who has been oppressed, subjugated, whose families and children, of course, have been killed for more than 60 years now, can't condole with such. What if they decide otherwise? You don't have to blame them. Or if you think you have the capacity to stop them, but only time will possibly prove you right or wrong. But whether they have made up their mind to leave, don't waste yourself, don't deceive yourself. Yes, they have. And if there is strong resolve and determination, I believe that nothing can deter them. So it's in the interest of peace and fairness that you should let them go. Abandon them to their fate. If they go there and hungry kills them, if they go there and fight themselves, well, that is not your business. You rather concentrate on how to move your own region forward and redefine your common existence as well. And of course, if you decide to move forward, nobody can take you. Nobody can steal that from you. So it is in the interest of humanity that we continue, of course, to emphasize the needs to live in this consciousness of the time we are in and possibly see if these people would come in terms with the reality. Because living in denial today and self deceptions does not guarantee the safety of tomorrow. When you leave crucial issues untouched and disaster is looming, unfortunately, you might also be overrun by the same disaster. That is the truth. So the earlier we tell ourselves the truth, the earlier we address these myriads of problems that divide us more than they unite us, the better for everyone. I think that is my candid analysis and opinion regarding this. You can see that those reasons why Igbos are not allowed to leave. People say they want to leave, regardless of the investment they may have made in different regions. But of course, if they could lose those properties during the war, what they need is enabling environments and the confidence, the conduciveness or ease of doing business. The brand is the highest resource given to man, not oil, not gold. Zamfara has gold, deposit of gold, gold mines. Zamfara State is one of the most stricken, poverty-stricken state in Nigeria. Osun State has gold. Several states that have natural resources in relative abundance are the most retired, backwards state as well. So what does that tell you? The acumen, the brain, the cerebral is what controls the universe. But let me leave you with this thought until I come your way in subsequent edition. Don't have a very good night rest. From here, thank you for watching and for those who commented. I may not go through your comments this moment, but whatever be the case, please don't forget to hit the like buttons before you exit this platform this moment. Thank you once again. Bye for now.